All right, gang, round number one. We talked a couple weeks ago about tensions rising in Syria between U.S. and Russian troops, and a video that was taken this Wednesday, it went super viral, is proof of that. In a continuing breach of its word, the Russian military has been harassing U.S. military forces in northern and eastern Syria. Fortunately, it looks like the U.S. military is pushing back. And in this video, you see a convoy of, here go the U.S. troops and their MRAPs, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like a crazy New York City taxi driver, weaving in and out of the convoy is this Russian vehicle. Not quite as big as an MRAP, but it goes weaving through and it's speeding. It's going on both sides of the road, and it goes around a couple American vehicles. And then finally, this one MRAP is like, I don't think so, bitch. And it cuts him off on the left side of the road, and then the Russian vehicle tries to go to the right. Well, the U.S. MRAP swerves to the right and pushes the vehicle into this mud and this ditch of a field, kind of. So it's stuck on the side
almost
of the road.
Almost as a pedestrian.
Yeah, almost. They almost hurt a few people in the process. But I felt like as I was watching it, when I see this Russian vehicle weaving, when that one U.S. vehicle finally was like, fuck no. I pictured
what it was in that vehicle, that one vehicle that was going, that lead convoy driver is a 9-year E4. He does not give a fuck.
I was picturing he has a big old fat dip in. He's from somewhere in Alabama, and he said, "Not today, bitch." He said, he's crazy motherfucking motor T, and
this is his last deployment. He's about to get phased out of the Marine Corps because he get promoted to E5, and he's like, "I am not getting passed by this Russian bitch."
Nah, he's
I don't think that we can really put the blame on this Russian convoy, because we don't know if this is an aggressive war move. That's just how they drive in Russia.
You think?
If you've seen any of the GoPro vehicles of them going in and out of traffic, that's a normal Tuesday afternoon in Russia. I don't think that there is any harm or foul here at play. They didn't have any evil intent. He's just like, I just got to get up there. I realize these are all big vehicles with big guns attached, but I'm Russian. This is what I do. I drink vodka and I pass people on the right inside lane and almost hit pedestrians.
Right.
That's just normal life.
They were probably crushing vodkas and cigs in that vehicle without any clue that they were passing U.S. vehicles. They were just thought they were on a little road trip. But
I think military special vodka comes in every Russian MRE.
But more and more, the Russian troops, and every week, more and more stories are coming out about this. Russian troops are provoking us and doing these things over there. So Tom Rogan at the Washington Examiner wrote about this, and he said that, and this was right on the Turkish border in a town called Kamishli, and this is an area where the Russians have repeatedly been just poking us with a stick over there. He said there are clear strategic utilities to this video and the kind of response it represents. So there's much more to this video than meets the eye politically. First off, it educates Russian military commanders that U.S. forces have the authority and direction to use appropriate force now. Clearly, this maybe was a driver from Alabama who said fuck it, but also probably had permission now to, hey, if the U.S. troops are being dicks, you can push back a little bit.
That is the biggest no shit ever. You're in an armed combat zone. You're in a combat convoy. Of course you have the right to protect yourself. Yeah. If that vehicle would have done anything wrong, the U.S. troops would have been totally within their right to fucking lace them up.
I think up until now, though, they've shown enormous restraint, and this was the first
and that's still
proof
showing
of
restraint.
Something. Yeah, it's still showing restraint, but the first video that everybody can see, Russia, the U.S., that, listen, bitch, we're going to push you off the road. We're not dealing with this. And Russia is carrying out antics like this around 100 miles away from where they said they'll remain. So Russia's 100 miles outside where they're supposed to be, and they're trying to push the U.S. out of Syria. But we're not pussing out, dickwads. That's what that video shows. The video is also good because it shows the world the U.S. resolve in the face of Russia. So Turks in the government and the public at large find a new reason to rejoin the U.S. alliance. The world's most powerful nation is showing Turkey that it has an ally in waiting with which to counter Russia's malfeasance in Syria. So this quick little Fast and Furious video shows
this fella from the Washington Examiner this is like an allegory that you would give at Yale. That's a lot of extrapolation from one vehicle going outside of a convoy.
This video went super viral. It would have looked really bad if we had just let that vehicle just roll through and make us look like idiots.
Right.
I think it's a big deal.
This video is the basis that our allies could be like, oh, they're actually not going to be pushed out by Russia. I think that's taking it a little bit far.
That's definitely a step too far to say, all right, this was finally the last straw, and now we know the U.S. is really going to push back. We weren't sure before, but now we know because of one rogue driver. I don't buy that shit.
It's a super viral video that shows us standing our ground in a really contentious area, so I think it's important. I think it does matter.
It is. No. it is important.
It's a little bit far, like to take it out and that the meaning is there. I think that it is an important video to see that we're not going to be fucking around, because a lot of the videos that the Russians have been putting out certainly would go into propaganda, like whenever they went to our bases that we had emptied out and they were taking selfie videos of all our bases and grabbing all of our gear and shit. It is nice to be on the offensive in one of these videos finally, but I think that we can relax a little bit, St. Augustine.
You're right, though, because so often our rules of engagement are so strict and our soldiers are so hamstrung in what they can do. It is nice to see that we were able, especially when you get inside a convoy like that.
Right, that's why it's a big deal to me that I think,
Yes, no, we're not saying it's not a big deal. We're saying for him to say, like, this shows the whole world that we mean business, that's a step too far. But this reminds me
I've been prone to doing a blog or two before. Like, I've been
I
prone to end it with some flowery language, too, and be like, man, this thing that I just wrote about this lady with a bucket of shit poured on her head, this is when people are tired of having diarrhea. Finally, we're going to find a cure. I think that's basically what we're doing. We're finding a cure in Syria, and it's because that 9-year E4 would not allow a Russian vehicle.
What the fuck, you guys? He just said, here's 2 reasons why this video is kind of important, and you guys are like, oh, it's insane.
Yes,
you guys are the ones being assholes.
No, we're disagreeing with him because we didn't need this video to prove these things to us.
I think you guys are way wrong, but that's all right.
This reminds me that my driver in Iraq, he was like a 29-year-old E2. He listed in the military later in life from like
those people don't give a shit.
Correct. He was from the backwoods of Florida. He had a mustache. So an E2 with a mustache means business.
No fucks given.
We're on a road one time and there's canals on either side, so it's a narrow road. Only one vehicle can go through it, and there's a bongo truck on the opposite end, maybe 100 yards away. And he starts saying, "You want me to do him, sir? You want me to do him, sir?" He was ready to run this dude off the road, and before I could even say anything, he hits the gas, and I had to like reach over and grab him, like, "Yo, stop! We're not about to just run some random car off the road. Pump the brakes."
Yeah, Motor T is definitely a hotbed of characters. I'll say that much. God bless them. God bless them.
They are. We've been posting some of them on the Instagram account, and they are wild cards. Motor T, once you join one of the combat armed services and you're like, fuck it, I want to go be Motor T, that you have a certain level of don't give a fuck that doesn't exist in most branches. Yeah,
Motor T is a content treasure trove. They are the best branch. They're the best MOS. They're the best MOS for content, for sure, I think.
Whenever I would watch them, we went to MP school. They were there at Fort Leonard Wood, too. I'm like, man, those people over there, they're just straight up wild cards. They're rushing into the chow hall with a reckless abandon. I'm like, I don't even know what they're getting into, but I don't want to know either because they're just fucking wild cards all the way across the board.
Content machine-wise, goes infantry, Motor T, and then probably fuel bubbas. They're just a real
I'd
hot
say
patoots.
cooks are up there, too.
Yeah, cooks. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of wackies out there. Anyway, shout out to that driver for standing the ground and turning the entire tide of the war in Syria, as you guys were refusing
Can you admit you got a little triggered there,
I
Kate?
did, because you guys were wrong. That's why. So S my D.
Okay, we don't say SRDs anymore. We don't say that. All right, let's move on to round number 2.